What we'll do in this lesson is finish the cleanup of our left pelvic limb and then move on to the right. Let's show our control curves. We just had a few more attributes to clean up here. We'll select it and go back to our graph editor, go to the rotate X and begin. So let's start by seeing if we need the key on frame 3 or even frame 5. Let's go ahead and select those keys and just delete them. Nothing major has happened here. Okay, as we scrub back and forth, so that's fine. We'll get a nice flow as we play through our animation, and what we could also do is adjust the tangency on frame 6. Get a better flow there. Great. Excellent. So now as we go to frame 7, let's see if we need this key. We'll delete it. Okay, no major shifting has happened, so I think we can leave it. That's fine. 9 and 10 we'll leave because that's when the foot's planted. And we could go to frame 11, and let's see what happens if we delete that key. Okay. Alright, nothing major. Pose still looks fine. Now as for frame 12, we could also leave that. Now let's go ahead and go to frame 1 and adjust our first and last pose. Okay, since they're similar poses, we could just focus on frame 1, and we'll hold shift and middle mouse button click and drag down to bring the key down there slightly. Then we'll adjust their right halves, focusing on one side and just bringing it down just to fix the arc here. Get a smooth flow in our animation. Great, this is looking nice. Excellent, so from there, let's move on to our last attribute. We won't need to worry about the hoof since we haven't animated in it. We'll just go right to the fetlock. Notice what we have here. Okay, our fetlock's being activated even when it shouldn't be, as the foot's up, only when there's pressure. And we only wanted it to have that pose, okay, that we put it in on frame 10 when there's the legs pushing back when more pressure is on it. So what we want to do here is basically make sure that that pose only comes in when it should. So what we need to do is go to frame 9 and zero out the fetlock when there's not that much pressure and going into that pose to bend our fetlock. Excellent. So now that we have that done, that wraps up our left pelvic limb. Okay, for right now. So what we can do is bring our attention now to the right. So let's go to minimize our graph editor, and again we're going to want to ghost our path of action in the right back leg here, just so we can see the arc, see how that's looking. So let's go ahead and prepare for that. What we'll do is go to create and create a locator. Once it's created, we're going to want to vert snap it. So again, hold V and middle mouse button click and drag slightly so we could get it about centered where our curve is. Scale it up a bit and then parent it right there to the control. Okay, we'll make sure we select the control last, hit P. From there, with it still selected, we'll go up to animate and just go select it. We should still have the right options. Excellent, so now we can see the path of action, and we know that it is not correct. It's more of a P shape, as we can see, or even a J shape, instead of an oval. So let's go ahead and work on fixing it. We'll select the control, go back to our graph editor, and start with the translate Y. That's selected. Let's go to frame 1. Make sure we get a nice view of our workspace of what we're about to adjust. And we'll also fix frames 1 and 13 here. Let's go ahead and hold shift and bring them up to fix the path of action here. And we also want to be conscious of intersecting. There's going to be a little bit of intersecting. Remember, this is just an animation character, so we're going to get a little bit of intersecting, but it's not going to be too important as long as it's not major. So maybe we could even bring down the keys a little bit here. Not too much, but just a little bit. Okay, and again, we want to go to one of our move tools or rotate tools just so we're not scaling our keys, so just so we get into the habit of moving them when it comes time to moving them. Alright, so that's going to be better. Okay, as we position them, and notice we're getting more of an arc now, a better arc. Okay, as we scrub through. Great. So now that we have this, of course we're not getting any poses here because of the timing that we have, but if we notice, it's more of an oval shape. That's what we were looking for. Great. So now that we have these adjustments made, we can go ahead and work on cleaning up our keys. So we could go to frame 3, see if we need that pose there for our Y. Let's see what happens if we delete it. Okay, we don't really need it because what we could do is just select the key on frame 5 and bring up our tangency there. Great, and then we can move on, seeing if we need the key on frame 6. What happens if we delete that? Okay, nothing major, so we can leave that there. And then we go right into the keys where the foot's planted. Okay, this is also our primary push-off leg, and our left side is pretty much our secondary. Great, so now we have that pushing off. Let's see what happens if we take this pose on frame 9. I think we could bring it down a little bit more, and that's also going to adjust the arc for us. Get us a better arc as we're going, as the leg here is pushing back. Okay, so we could take that key and fix its flow, tangent flow. Now here, what we're going to want to do is actually take these keys. Since we're getting this not so good looking arc here, what we're going to want to do is take these keys, going from frames 10 and 12, and see if we could delete them. Okay, to fix the arc. And notice it's looking, okay, the arc has improved slightly from doing so. As we can see, it's getting more of an oval shape there. And I think for frame 9, let's go ahead and actually bring that back down since we made the adjustments that we made to fix the arc there. But if you also notice, the leg is coming back and locking up around frames 10, even frame 11. Okay, so we're going to want to fix those poses. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll go to the Translate Z. We'll frame up our keys here. And we'll go to about the point where the leg is locked up the most on frame 11. We'll select these 3 keys on from frames 10 to 12. Let's go ahead and hold Shift and bring them up to fix our pose here. Okay, so as we scrub through, alright, that's looking a little bit better. Let's even bring it up a bit more. Alright, so that's looking pretty good now. Great. So now that that's fixed, okay, as we can see, we can go ahead and even adjust the tangency here for these keys. Great. And then as we move forward, we'll get to 1 and 13 later. Let's go ahead and see if we could delete this key on frame 3. Get rid of that. Nothing major has happened, so that's fine. And then for this key on frame 5, let's see. Do we need it? Let's see what happens if we go ahead and get rid of it. Okay, nothing major, so that's good too. Great, and then also when we adjust frames 1 and 13, we'll get back some of our poses. Okay. Alright, let's see about frame 7 and 8. Now, 7 and 8, this is where the foot's planted. So again, we can make these linear. Of course, we don't need to since it's just one frame, but we want to get into the habit. So first off, let's go ahead and select these 2 keys. We'll go up to keys and break their tangents. Then we'll adjust the sides that need to have a smooth flow. So that's going to be the left half for 7 and the right half for 8. We'll just bring that down a bit. Then we'll select both keys again. Select the right half for 7. Select the left half for 8. And go to linear. Great. So now that we have that, we can now go ahead and see if we can take this key on frame 9 and delete it. Okay. Let's see, I think I'd like to actually keep that. Let me go ahead and undo. Okay, I think we can keep that. I like the pose there. Okay, I think it's maintaining a better pose. So we'll just fix the tangency here. Great. So then from there we can select 13 and 1. Select the right halves and fix the flow. Excellent. Great, so once these things are done, and we could even go ahead and delete our locator. We no longer need that. But once these things are done, we can see that if we minimize our curve editor and hide our curves, hitting play in our workspace, we can see that our leg has improved. Okay, the movement is much nicer, much more realistic than what we had before, where it was a little bit more blocky before we made the cleanup changes. Great. So now that these things are done, we're just about done finishing up this right pelvic limb. And what we'll do is stop the lesson here and do that, finish it up in the next lesson.